My name is Cheri Dallas, and I am originally from Jackson, Mississippi. I was raised in Louisiana, had been living in Georgia for 24 years, and just recently moved to Dallas, Texas. So everybody's like, Dallas is in Dallas. Um, I have been in the transportation, distribution, and logistics area for about 36 years now. Since right out of high school, I went to the United States Army. Um, and now I still work in the transportation arena as a trainer, as a business consultant, to help others get their business going or get into the business.
My name is Nicole Hodges. I am the Regional Manager of Instructional Development and Design with Goodwill of North Georgia. I have been a part of the Goodwill of North Georgia family for the last 10 years.
So my name is Regina, and I, of course, am a facilitator as well. And I have been in this industry for a very long time. So I started out, graduated high school, went into the military, went to the Army. I was in a 92 Alpha. And so I started there, and my career has been in this area for a very long time. I am also a business owner and, of course, a facilitator for different organizations. And I'm excited to kind of talk about, what it looks like in the roles that I've kind of been in throughout my life.
What was your first job and what did it teach you?
My career path, as I stated, started when I joined the United States Army in 1988, straight out of high school. In order for them to determine what area you're going to work in, they administer a test called the ASVAB, which is the Armed Services Vocational Aptitude Battery Test. So that test decides what area you go into. So I ended up in 76 Yankee, 76 Victor, which later changed to 92 Yankee, 92 Victor, which was supply, logistics, and I drove for the captain. So that's how I got into this career path now 30-some years later, but I've transitioned to many, many areas in the field.
I have always had a passion for helping people. I started working with children with disabilities, primarily autism, upon graduation from college. My undergrad is in clinical psychology, and I have a bachelor's degree. I transitioned from working with children with disabilities to adults when I realized that there were a lot of resources for children. With everything that we know about people with disabilities, the adults, however, didn't necessarily have access to those same resources. So I became really passionate about working with that population that didn't have access to those new resources. I originally, as I transitioned to working with adults, started working more in a residential setting, but was looking for a different challenge. And so what brought me to this place in supporting people with disabilities in employment, being able to help people with those barriers that they have to employment, assisting with removing barriers to help them achieve success and giving them access to the training. So I was able to kind of meet my skills and abilities and my degree along with my passion of helping people. What I've realized is that, throughout the years, that everyone deserves dignity, respect, and quality of life. And I am a part of providing access to that for people who maybe don't have access to that. I started working with a grant and then transitioned to direct staff and then eventually management and workforce development. Now in my current role as Regional Manager of Instructional Development and Design, I'm responsible for developing curriculum for the training programs and the hard skills to help people upskill themselves and not only find a job, but a better job and a career.
Yeah, so kind of like Cheri, I joined the military and I took the test, ended up selecting my position as 92 Alpha. And originally I started, I'm like, I'm just going to do this. It sounds okay. And when I get in, I'll just change and do something different. But it was really fun because I got to learn just different areas of logistics, supply chain, and work with just so many different people. And it just allowed me the opportunity to be able to continue to grow in that field once I got out of the military. So I worked in warehousing. I worked with truck drivers in the military. And then when I got out, I got into procurement, supply chain, warehouse, kind of distribution and managing those things. And currently, I work very closely with logistics. I do procurement. So I place orders, and I also have to schedule, get quotes for logistics and schedule pickups and shipments and things like that when it comes to this area. So it kind of just led into one thing after another. And now I am really enjoying it on the other end of it, not so much the warehouse side of it, but more of the administration side of it.
What is a typical day in your role? Are there any misconceptions about what your job is like?
I have two main areas that I work in. The business side, a typical day for me would be dispatching, making sure that drivers are effectively on the road, making sure the fuel is taken care of, helping others who want to get into this business set up their trucking companies. And then on the training side, those who have difficulties passing the commercial driver's license test, they usually come to me if they have issues with backing up or doing the maneuvers to be able to get their Class A driver's license. So, and on the consulting side, investors or people who want to invest in the business of transportation, it's a typical day for me.
So a CDLA is to drive your tractor trailer trucks, your 18-wheelers. In order to be able to complete your CDLA certification, you must have a clean MVR or relatively clean MVR, which means no speeding tickets. You can't have had any DUIs within the last 7 years, and anything, if you've had more than one DUI, you can never obtain a CDLA. So it is extremely important to be mindful of your driving should you decide to enter that industry. For a typical CDLA driver, if you are over the road, you are obviously going to be driving long hours. You will be moving, transporting goods across sometimes state lines, across the country. So your day is going to be spent on the road, very solitary and alone. The biggest misconception, I think, for CDLA drivers is that they're all over the road. They are not. There are those opportunities that are local drivers where you can still balance that work with home life so that you're home in the evenings with your family. It does not have to be where you are gone for a week or two at a time.
Now, a typical day for me, being that I am more on the procurement side, I will place orders and schedule the deliveries, or I'll schedule pickups. And so sometimes I have to get quotes for, how much would it be if I picked up a 300-pound 5-pallet, this. And so I'm calling around the freight forwarders trying to get quotes and making sure that I save the company as much money as possible when I schedule these trucks. Some of the other things that I do is customs, because some of the material for this company is shipped out overseas. I have to make sure that everything in customs is aligned, making sure that we have the right people that's going to pick it up, because customs is a whole lot of paperwork. And if you do not have it correct, your stuff will not move, and they will actually throw it in the trash, or they'll send it back to where it is where it came from. And so it is a lot of managing where material is, when it's going to ship out, when it's going to hit customs. Do I have everything in line so that it can move through customs? So that's kind of what my day looks like once I'm ordering the material and making sure it gets to where it needs to be on time for that company.
What kind of education, training, or certifications does your job require?
Training, distribution, and logistics. It's so many variables. It starts from a high school diploma all the way up to certification if you work in hazmat, or if you got to work at the rail. It is so many in between that an individual can do. Is going to just come down to narrowing it down to a certain area. For me personally, my experience all came from hands-on training. So I've worked in the warehousing where I went in from processing, which is just the items are coming down a conveyor belt, and then you're building it onto that same pallet that Regina was speaking of, and then that pallet goes over to a door that then gets loaded to a truck. I started out there. Within 5 weeks, I got promoted to DC area supervisor. Went to a training for that for about 4 weeks. Before I got back to the warehouse, I was promoted again to the shipping manager, which shipping is what pays the bills in a warehouse, because as the product comes in, the quicker you process it through that warehouse. And what happens is a truck brings that product to the warehouse. It gets processed in on receiving, then it goes to processing, meaning get distributed to the pallets, and then goes to shipping and prepares to be loaded to a truck to go out to various stores. Sometimes a truck will have one stop, sometimes it might have several stops. It just depending on where you're working at. So a lot of transportation, distribution, logistics is hands-on training in each environment. If you're looking to be a general manager, I have seen some general managers that had not had any college training because they had the actual hands-on experience. But if you don't have experience in the area and you're looking to get more of a position as a general manager, a GM, then you would need education to be able to get you there.
In order to be a CDLA driver, you must be able to pass a DOT physical, drug screen, CDLA permit, and then complete CDLA training. The federal government regulates the CDLA certifications, and so the programs, you have to complete a set number of hours in order to meet those federal requirements. Once you complete your training, then you can take your CDLA certification and be able to utilize that certification to find employment.
The current role that I'm in right now, it requires a bachelor's degree. So what I do now, basically, well, the job description said bachelor's degree, but I also work with people who do not have a bachelor's degree, who, like Cheri said, they have worked through experience, right? And they've kind of worked in the military, so that gives experience that kind of goes over a degree. And I work with people who have just been in the industry so long until they know it like the back of their hand. So it varies depending on, you know, how much experience you have, how much you're willing to learn, and sometimes even who you know. And so if you think back on, even when I got out of the military and went and worked for a company, I started in the warehouse, and it was one of the lower roles. It felt like I started over again, getting out of the military, getting into the warehouse. I started working there and worked my way up. And I didn't have education in the beginning. And so while I worked in the warehouse, I actually went back to school and decided I wanted to go on the salary side and not work hourly. So once I got my degree, I started applying for the more senior level roles, and I started moving forward in that. So honestly, it just depends on who you are, how you show up, what type of training you've had. Are you willing to learn? Because honestly, it's things that you definitely can learn on, like by doing it and understanding and being willing and open to learn. So it just varies. Honestly, I just don't see it now where you absolutely have to have a degree anymore. You just have to be willing to learn and willing to show up.
What kind of skills and traits are important for someone to be successful in your job?
The skills and personality traits for my personal position is you have to be great at working independently. That's one main trait. You have to be able to multitask, work well under pressure. Um, you've got to be very detailed to keep up with your drivers. If anything happens time wise, because time is money. Patience. Gotta have some patience.
Yes.
Yeah, because a driver could be super frustrated. They're out there on the road, and because I drove as well, for me, I felt it necessary to know every aspect of this business. If a driver called me with any issue, I have experienced any issue you can imagine out there. So I can speak to it. So you have to be familiar with the field. It's really hard to be that person they're calling on the other end and you have no knowledge of their day and how it looks to be out on the road. Um, Very important. But as well, you need some formal training. So as to be effective and efficient with this particular role.
As a CDLA driver, you have to have patience. You are going to sometimes be dealing with traffic and accidents and things that will cause you to sometimes be behind on a delivery. So first and foremost, you have to have patience. You are behind an extremely powerful piece of equipment. You have to like to work by yourself because you are over the road or are delivering goods, and you are almost always going to be alone. You also have to have great internal and external customer service skills because you are often working with dispatchers who are going to dispatch your loads for you. But then you are also working with your customers that you're going to be picking up those loads from. You might be working with railroads. You might be working at a port. Or you could be just working with employers where you're picking up in a warehouse a load. So you have to be able to have that patience and understanding great customer service skills.
This industry is go fast, go fast, go fast. And you have to think about like all the things that we face with moving material. Think about what happened in 2020. There was a lot of workarounds. There was a lot of pauses, shipments that didn't take place, and we had to find ways to get material still where it needed to be. And so just having that patience, like she shared, being able to be structured, have some organization, because you need to know, where is this shipment? Okay, this was ordered on this day. Where is this truck driver? Who's going to be at customs? Did I have everything in lines? And so making sure you have structure, making sure you're organized, making sure you're patient. We had a situation happen last year where we didn't consider what the weather was. Some of our material, huge million dollar container flipped due to the weather. It was snow, and so the driver was not really qualified or didn't pay attention, and $1 million flipped, damaged, completely done. And so you have to be very attention to detail, ask a lot of questions, and just having, again, a growth mindset, lots and lots and lots of patience, and always willing to do things not always the same exact way, because things are always changing.
What are good salary expectations in your field?
That's a great question. So again, there are so many moving parts when it comes to transportation, distribution, and logistics. I will say for the role I'm in, I made $100,000 a week, to where, or I made sometimes 100,000 a month. So it's up to how much you want to deal with. Me personally, doing that $100,000 a week was stressful. Okay, it
For
was.
sure.
I was in trucks, I was managing drivers, and it was a choice that I moved away from that. All money is not good money. And so, especially when it comes to your livelihood, to be able to have some kind of work-life balance, when those trucks are on the road, I'm on the road. So you have to be able to just find an area, anything in transportation, even brand new to the industry, you're probably going to come in roughly with no experience. You're probably going to come in at roughly about 30,000, 40,000 a year. You have such growing opportunity though, that within a year, you can grow that from 30 to 60,000 if you actually working a actual job for someone. But again, it's really, you're your only limit, because as long as you get in there, learn. So we would cross train. When I worked in the warehouse system, we had where if the associates wanted to learn other areas, you were able to cross train in any area you wanted to learn, and you could grow much faster the more experience and the more training that you have. You'll go from being an associate to being a supervisor within a short period of time. It's just absolutely how you apply yourself and the skills that you already have to make it work in that particular position.
Most CDL drivers right now are currently starting around $23 an hour. Some employers are paying higher salaries up to $25 and $30 an hour to start with no experience, depending on their demand. Right now, your school systems are so desperate for bus drivers, so they are paying $27 to $30 an hour for a school bus driver. The interesting thing to know with some employers with CDLA is some employers will bring you on and then pay for your training to complete the CDLA. It is not necessarily a training that you must pay and complete on the front end to find and secure employment. There are some programs out there that do require you to, upon completion, work for a specific employer, and you will sign a contract, and they will allow you to go through the training at no cost to you because you sign that contract and are committing to that employer for a set number of months or years.
Honestly, I think that you have the ability working for yourself to be able to manage and make more. It just depends on, again, what systems you have in place or how much you want to work. And so I'll say for me, I've made $15 an hour starting out. I've made $90,000 starting out. I mean, coming in, it just depends on the level that you come in. So it can range depending on what level. So if you, I don't even know, like if I think about the warehouse now, I would say that they're probably coming in at like $20 an hour at this point. Maybe more. But like where I am now, because I've worked myself up and I've been in it for years, I make over six figures. So it just depends, I would say it ranges from $20 an hour to over six figures. Or if you do your own company, like Cheri said, you can make six-figure months, or you can make six-figure years. It just depends on how much you want to do and how you want to do it.
Absolutely.
Just know that logistics is very busy, and you definitely have to be on your job, because people definitely will lose money if you're not on what you're supposed to be on.
What advice do you have for someone just starting their career?
Advice would be find an area that you enjoy, because don't choose the area because of the money. Because if the area that you feel makes more money, it's not something you're going to want to do every day, all the time, I'm telling you, you're gonna burn out real quick. use whatever skills and your strengths that you already have and find an area that you can, because it's so many things that you can do in transportation,
Mhm.
distribution, logistics. Try to apply those skills that you already naturally born given skills to an area that you'll be able to commit to, that you would enjoy. Because I'm telling you, some they'll be like, oh, they're paying more because you got to lift all these boxes, load a truck, and then every day you go home, your back hurting. You gotta pick an area, but some people use that as a workout, so it works for
Mhm.
certain people. But you've got to just find an area that coincides with something that you already enjoy doing. If you are not a people's person, it's really hard to be able to work as a team. So,
Mhm.
my advice would strongly just find that thing that you love, and the money is going to come.
Some advice for somebody starting out in their career is that your journey is your journey. Take the opportunity to get your foot in the door. Pave and create your own pathway to achieve your own personal and professional goals. Sometimes the salary is not what we're looking for to start, but there's so much opportunity with that employer. Do not allow objection to discourage you. Sometimes a no is actually not a no. It's just sometimes a not right now. Utilize those objections to further drive you toward achieving your goals.
Similar. I would say learn who you are, and what you like to do, because that matters. I know we like to say we want to pay our bills, but again, sometimes paying our bills and being stressed is like a quick way to not be able to even work because your health fails. And so we don't want to be those type of people where our health is failing because we're working so much, we're stressed about paying bills, and we want to make so much money and we don't even have time to spend it. We don't want it like that. I would say spend time knowing who you are, knowing what you enjoy. What are you passionate about? How do you want to show up? What are you good at? Look at those things and then start looking for a role that aligns. One of the things that I didn't share is my business side. I do personal branding. And that's one of the things I help with when it comes to corporate women. How do you want to brand yourself? How do you want to show up? What is it that you like? What is it that you're good at? And what skills do you have that can get you in the industry that you want to be in? Because it matters. You don't want to just chase money. You want to chase purpose. You want to love what you do. You want to enjoy it so that it doesn't feel so hard. Not that you're not going to have hard days, because you will. Things are hard at times, but learn who you are, learn what your weaknesses are, learn how to manage and connect with people who have strengths that aligns with your weaknesses, and you guys can kind of partner together in that industry, things like that. So I just say know who you are, understand what your weaknesses are, understand what your strengths are, understand what you really enjoy, and try to get into a field in that area that can complement who you are so that you can show up at your best self.